You're listening to Exposure on Radio X. I'm John Kennedy, and that is Paul Weller with Ship of Fools. It's the opening track to the brand new album 66, which has just come out, and I'm very pleased to say that Paul is here in the studio. Hello, Paul.
Hello, mate.
It's great to see you.
And you.
Thanks for coming in.
You're welcome, yeah.
Always exciting to get a new Paul Weller album. This is the 17th solo album.
So I've been told, yeah?
Yes, yeah. I don't think you do any counting or anything like that.
Not particularly, no.
Yeah, because my impression is that you just you just carry on. You just cannot stop yourself. You just keep making music day by day, pretty much.
Well, that's what I do, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't ever think of it beyond that, really. That's my my role in life, or one of them anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it seems a natural thing to do, to keep making music and keep playing live. I mean, that's what I signed up for, you know, all them years ago.
Yeah, totally. So with 66, I mean, where did this begin? Because is there...
Where does it all end, John?
Well, it's not going to end, hopefully. But it's just that because you're constantly creating, you're constantly working, you know, when do you think, I think I've got a new project on the go?
It normally starts, right, when I've got at least sort of 5 or 6 tunes on the go. And then, without even thinking about making a record or whatever, I'm just collecting up tracks as I write and go along. But then you end up with, like, say, 5 or 6, 7 tunes, and you think, there's a half an album there, or there's a start of a record there. And then it sort of spins off on from that, you know.
Yeah. So you get to a point you think, and presumably that's a happy point when you're thinking, you know what?
Yeah, when I hear that there's something there, you know, when I feel that there's the foundations for a record, for an album, you know.
I mean, I really like the whole feel of this new record. You know, it has got a kind of really mellow feel to it, really. You know, it's a great one to just kind of dive into and wash over you in a really positive way.
I don't know what I feel about it, but I'm willing to accept all that.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Ship of Fools is a really nice, gentle way to start the record, which is quite a surprise, I think.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because normally we sort of start a record with something more upbeat and faster, but I thought, I've never really started an album with a slow song like that.
Yeah,
I thought that was different.
It works really well because it kind of lures you in, you know, and you kind of think, this is interesting.
Yeah.
And there's an interesting theme running through the whole record in a way, in that it's about collaboration, and that you're working with quite a few different people in a different way than you might have done in the past. And that obviously you get in various different musician friends of yours and they play on your material. You guest on a lot of other people's work. Yeah. But this time, quite a few co-writers, people who are helping you out in different ways, maybe in the lyrics. So I think Suggs wrote the words for this one.
He did. Suggs wrote the words to Ship of Fools, and he just sent me a poem, really, I suppose, you know, a bit of prose, really, that he'd written. And I just, I had this song and this melody on the go at the time. And then he just sent me them randomly anyway. We weren't even necessarily talking about writing a song. But anyway, I just said to him, these work really well over this tune I've got, so can I use them, you know? So it just kind of rolled on from that, really. And that's kind of, you know, there's a number of tracks which I didn't write the words for this time. So Noel's done one, and Bobby Gillespie, Erlen Cooper, Dr. Robert, and Suggs. So I have done stuff like that before. In the last few years, there's a few lyrics that have been written for stuff I've been working on. Like with Erlen Cooper, you know, we've done a few tunes together already in the last few years. And, I didn't have so much to say, to be honest. I mean, I did musically, but lyrically, I didn't have so much to say. So I thought, well, see if other people I know, if they've got something to say.
Yeah,
you know?
well, why not?
Yeah.
And does that free you up? Is it like taking a little bit of pressure off, in a way?
I guess so. It makes it more immediate because, like I said, I had the backing track and I had the idea for the song. I just needed some words for it. Now that could take me. Sometimes I might write those words in a day or an hour, and other times it might take me months and months to get it right, you know, or not. So it just made it more immediate. As I was doing the tracks, I would send them to various people, and depending on what they sent back, it just made the whole process a bit quicker, really, I suppose.
Yeah. And with this...
And I suppose also when you're singing other people's words, obviously you have to relate to them in the first place to make it work. But I'm not as picky over it, I'm not as critical about it. I'm looking at it as a vocalist, I'm just singing these words and trying to interpret them. Whereas when I write my own stuff, it can be sometimes I could sort of deliberate over, is that the right thing to say? Is that the right line? I can get hung up on just one line and just, that might ruin the whole thing for me, the whole song for me. So I'm not as critical when I'm using someone else's words.
Yeah.
It's kind of what they've written and it fits and it works and I'm just interpreting it as a singer.
And is this a change of outlook in that you're allowing that to take place? Yeah. Because maybe before you felt a responsibility that you were meant to be coming out with these words.
Well, I was always very sort of guarded and quite selfish about my writing, I never ever really wanted anyone to let in when I was writing a song. This is my thing, I'm doing this. But I've kind of done all that, So in my late stage of my life, it's kind of nice to sort of throw it open to other people and it worked. It worked well for me,
Yeah, oh, totally. And it's interesting that, Suggs sent you those words out of the blue and it just happened that they worked well with a bit of music that you were working on.
Yeah.
Because it is a great match.
Yeah. I mean, other times people might send me something and it doesn't work or I don't relate to it, But, yeah, it worked on this anyway.
Yeah, and the Suggs collaboration, and you would have known each other for decades.
Yeah.
There was a single a couple of years ago, wasn't there? Who do you think you are?
Yeah.
So was that the first of those, or?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I hadn't seen Suggs for many, many years, couple of decades probably, and then I kind of saw him. I'm going to say in recent years, but it probably wasn't. It was probably like 10, 15 years ago. Anyway, we reconnected anyway. And it's so, and that's how that record came about. Who do you think you are? We just, I just said, look, we should really try and do something. We should try and do a tune together before we get too old or one of us dies or whatever. And so it was just good fun, But we worked well together, and he's a very creative person as well.
Yeah. He's interesting, I think, because in a way he's a bit of a philosopher. Because often, if you go through some of the songs that he's put out over the years, he's quite a deep thinker in many ways.
He is, yeah. He probably wouldn't like people to think that, but he is, yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's a real artist.
Yeah, no question. And you've got some really interesting artists working on this track, so that kind of end up playing on a few songs, such as Max Beasley and Jack O'Peak.
Yeah.
Jack O'Peak's playing some flute on that. Max is playing vibraphone, and these are people that go back to another era of the Paul Weller.
Yeah, well, I mean, with Jacko, I think it was probably my first sort of solo tour of 1990, I think, anyway. Although I did meet Jacko before that. He used to be in a band called Push, late 80s, and we did stuff together around that time. But Jacko was in the first lineup when I went back out solo. And Max Beasley as well was his first gig. And Max was only I think he was 18. He was just fresh out of music college or whatever. And so it was nice been nice to reconnect with those people as well.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Because we've all got older and we've all improved, I think, and we've all moved on. And it's interesting to see all that as well.
Yeah. It must be... I guess it's like seeing old friends or something, but it becomes a breath of fresh air, doesn't it? When you reacquaint.
It does, but it's nice also to see that we've all moved on as well. I think I like that, the fact that we've all been through what we've been through, and we've all learned something else, and then to reconnect and share that.
And their work really complements a lot of the songs that they work on this new record.
It was a great session with Jacko and Max. We did it all live, and we did 2 or 3 tunes in a day or 2 days or whatever. And it was just, it was lovely. It was just a lovely session.
And that was all at Black Barn, your studio in Surrey.
Yeah.
Flying Fish is the next song, which kind of links into Ship of Fools in that there's a mention of fish in Ship of Fools. So Flying Fish is the next song.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about this, Paul?
It was one of the first tunes I started, I think. So probably back in like 2021, 22 maybe. It's one of the first songs. Yeah, I wasn't even sure what I was going to do with that song. I was kind of, because as I was writing them, I was going in and recording them. But there was big sort of stretches of time in between songs, because I was touring and doing whatever else. So I didn't really have a definite plan for an album at that time. I was just collecting up songs, really. But but Flying Fish was, it was one of the first tunes, and Josh McClory came down and he played bass and piano on it, but the rest I kind of did myself, as I remember. And so that was one of the first ones, and it's been around for like 2 or 3 years. And I wasn't really sure what to do with it. And then I kind of forgot about it until I was putting the album together last year. And I was like, that's a good song, actually. And so it was back in. And what can I tell you about it? I don't know.
It's an interesting mix because it almost feels a bit disco to me.
Yeah.
Maybe even ABBA go disco.
Someone else said ABBA as well.
Yeah.
Actually, Alexis from Hot Chip was saying he thought it sounded like ABBA as well.
Yeah.
Is that good or bad? I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's got to be a good thing.
They're very popular.
They're very popular, and they've written some amazing classic songs. But there's also this interesting kind of rock and roll thing going on, almost like a Spiders from Mars kind of T-Rexy glam boogie thing that you've combined it with.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. They turn out as they turn out.
Yeah.
I mean, the influences of many, many things are always in lots of my music, as you know. And but I'm never particularly that conscious of it. I just think they all just get fed through, really.
Yeah, totally. They go in and then they come out in whatever form. What can you tell us about Jumble Queen, Paul? We know that Noel Gallagher is involved in this one. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say this a few times over the course of this, but it was another one where I had the backing track, and I had. So when I do a backing track, if I haven't got any words, I will sing a melody on top of it and la whatever, make up words, make up lines, just to show where the melody's going to go. But anyway, so that's the sort of thing I will send out to people, and then if they're able to do it, to write to the top line, to whatever melody I put on top of it. So anyway, I didn't have any words for the Jumble Queen, and I sent it to Noel and just said, have you got anything for this? Got any words for it? And about 20 minutes later, he sent the words back. So, which was interesting, I thought, really. It must have been either he had them already or he just wrote them off the top of his head for it, which I thought was great. And they just fitted. They fitted the tune,
Yeah.
What it's about, I don't know. I mean, I could hazard a guess. I'm not going to, but I don't know what they're about.
Yeah.
No, I'm not sure.
But I love that spontaneity and that speed, because it is almost as if you're in the same room in a way.
Yeah,
because you're kind of playing him this, in effect, and he's responding to it, and it's obviously connected in some way.
Absolutely.
And
I mean, and from that as well, from him sending those words, I mean, I went back and demoed the lyrics probably the day after or something like that, very quickly anyway, And then that was it.
Yeah. It works really well. It's got a nice kind of rock and roll kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
But then there's all this brass on there as well.
Yeah.
So when does that get added? Or is that in your mind?
No, that was always in my head to have the brass on it,
Yeah.
I was, it doesn't sound anything like this at all, but I was thinking of the brass on Lady Madonna.
Right.
Ba, 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 all that stuff. And so that was where the idea came from.
Yeah. And when you're thinking of sending a track out to somebody, is it just because that person just pops into your head? Or is it more a case of you've always wanted to kind of work with them in some way? I mean, obviously Noel is your friend. You've worked with him in many different ways.
Well, it's probably a bit of both, to be honest. I mean, there's certain tracks I thought that person could be really good for this. They would get this. But equally, I could have sent it to them, and they were like, "No, I don't. Not my thing." So There's a bit of luck as well involved, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just works and it clicks, and people have got free time as well. People have got the time to have a listen and think about it. But there's no grand plan. There never is.
And maybe sometimes it is luck, and you just happen to catch people at that moment when they're
I think it is. I think
open.
There's a lot of that in music. It's
Yeah.
the same. I've seen it in when we were recording as well, you know. But it's always nice when I'm recording, and a lot of it I'm kind of on my own doing it. So it's always nice when other people drop in as well, like when Josh came down, for instance, you know. But whoever it may be, it's always nice because someone else just brings something else to the party, you know. They just bring something else with them, and then you see other possibilities in a song as well, you know. Someone else just helps to open that track up a bit, and then you see other things in it as well, you know.
Yeah, totally. It's one of the exciting things about doing what you do.
It's beautiful, man, because it's that is the magic part of it. You know, sometimes you just think, I don't know where this is going at all. And then a few hours later, it's turned the corner and it's become something totally different and something that's inspiring in itself, you know. So I love those moments, and you can't plan for them. They just happen or they don't happen, you know.
Yeah. But I guess maybe you've got to make them happen in that you turn up and you go to the studio.
You've got to be in the studio.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to be around your instruments and you've got to have people involved. And but you're all kind of looking for that little bit of magic you can try and create, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just wondering whether, you know, sometimes the gap between some people's recording time is down to not putting in the hours in a way. No, because it seems to me you put in those hours. You're going to turn up every day, get on with it.
Well, that's definitely the first thing that you've got to do, yeah. You've got to be there. And but I think you've got to be I'm always on the lookout for it, right? I'm always on the lookout for, you know, ideas or a song or a theme or words or whatever it may be. But I think you just got to have your antennae up all the time, really, just to try and catch these little wisps of ideas, you know, that are floating about. So I think you have to be turned on all the time, really, to that.
Yeah, it's just quite interesting because that could be quite taxing in a way.
Quite what?
Taxing. You know,
it is taxing, yeah. It takes up a tremendous amount of time, really. And that's why I find at the end of an album, I sort of feel quite depleted. But that's because you've just been constantly trying to be conscious of all these things that are going on around, and we know what we're trying to catch, trying to grab something out of the air, you know, to make it come alive. And yeah, I spend an awful lot of time, once we've recorded something, I spend an awful lot of time going over it, listening to it, trying to see how we could perfect it, how we could change it, what we might do, blah, blah, blah. And that's, there's a lot of that goes on. There's probably more of that than the time we spend in the studio in some ways. We work very quickly in the studio, and then I'll come away for a little bit and listen to it in different places, and then just try to improve upon it, you know.
Yeah.
Often I go back in and start taking stuff out, you know. It's not always adding stuff to it. Sometimes just what you take out as well. But that's quite a lengthy process, that side of it.
Yeah. Nothing is the next song, track 4 on the new album. And this is beautiful. It's just, you take the pace down. It's such a beautiful track. And I think Suggs is involved in this one again.
He was, yeah. Suggs, again, sent me this poem, right, which forms the whole of that song pretty much. And I thought that Suggs had written this beautiful poem anyway. And it just happened that I had another song on the go at the time, and these words really fitted on this song I had. So I said to Suggs, can I use this, you know, because I think I've got a song here. And then he said, yeah, but they're not my words. It's a friend of mine, a guy called Andrew White, or better known as Chalky, who I've never met. I spoke to him on the phone. But it was his friend Chalky's poem that he'd written about him and Suggs as kids growing up together. And I thought it was a really beautiful sentiment, one that you could relate to many things. I related to my family and us growing up, you know. We didn't have anything much really, materially, but we had each other and we had love and fun and, you know. So I was very lucky from that point of view. So that's how I related to it. But it could be, you could be many different relationships. So yeah, so I called Chalky and said, look, can I use, Suggs sent me your poem, but can I use it in the song, you know? And he was more than happy to do that. And then Suggs wrote some words for the chorus and it was there.
Yeah.
That was it.
I love that idea that it's bringing different people together, and also that, you know, you don't necessarily need to be Paul Weller or Suggs to be able to express something that can connect with lots of people.
He's not a songwriter. I don't, as far as I know, he's not a writer or a poet or anything. He just wrote these really heartfelt, beautiful words. But I like that. I like that aspect of it.
Yeah.
You know, and I've not even met Chalky. I spoke to him on the phone, and yet we've got this connection.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And yeah, no, it's such a beautiful song. And there's lots of lovely different musical elements in here, lots of lovely sounds, some of which remind me of Rose Royce and records like that. Is that the Selena that is conjuring up that sound? That
I don't know. Well, I mean, there's a beautiful Moog part in it, which was played by Steve Brown, who's Kareem Bailey Ray's husband. And Kareem was down in my studio at that time, actually. She was working on her own stuff.
You came up in conversation. She was on the show a few months back, talking about that amazing new album of hers, and she was talking about, you know, the creation of the record and the various different stages, and mentioned going to Black Barn.
Well, she was down there, right? We were doing some writing together for her stuff, which is not on her new album, but this was only last summer. And Steve, her partner, was there, and I needed a Moog. I wanted to try a Moog part, you know. So I just asked him, and he just, that was his second take, and that was it. So, you know, there's lots of those. What's the word? Surreptitious? Is that the right
Serendipity?
word?
Maybe.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just happens to whoever's around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just a bit of luck, a bit of happen chance, and these things come together, and then there's something as magical as nothing for us all to enjoy. And this involves a new collaborator on this part of the album. Yeah. So this has Christopher, or I'm going to...
Christophe.
Thank you. Christophe Valiant?
Valiant, yeah.
Valiant, okay, thank you.
And he's got a band or a project which is called Les Super Homard. And I've been aware of his work for a couple of years. I loved the record they put out a few years ago, Black Diamond, I think it was called. But very clever fella, multi-instrumentalist, and he's based in Marseille, I think. And then he did a remix on one of my tracks a few years ago, and that was great. But very musical, and it's got that wonderful French melodic sense, and I don't know, I can't even explain it. Can't put my finger on it, but hopefully people will know that what I'm on about. But I felt it was very much like a chanson, torch song type vibes to it. And so he had the backing track and no song on top, and I just did the top line and lyric to it. So they kind of, that song, and also there's another song on the album which we did together called A Glimpse of You, which we'll come to. But they both came in sort of pretty much sort of fully formed. The backing tracks were very sort of complete, I thought, even though we might have changed a few things afterwards. But they were very much, I wrote to the arrangement, that's what I'm saying. I really, the kind of arrangement was already there, you know. And I tried to approach it from, I was imagining that I was translating some French lyrics into English, a bit like I think it was Mort Schumann did on Jacques Brel's stuff. Maybe I'm not wrong. I don't know. Whoever did the English translations, anyway. So I was kind of imagining it from that angle, and so I was trying to incorporate some of that kind of drama or melodrama into the lyric as well. You know, real gut busting, honest sort of lyrics. You know, that vibe. And then we added the orchestra afterwards. But just a beautiful melody, I think, and the chords are great in it, I think. Yeah.
And the reverse of some of the other songs on the album where, you know, you've had some music and you've shared that with other people. This time he sent you this music and it fired up your imagination, you know, which is quite exciting. And you get to explore and do something you wouldn't have done.
Something totally different, I mean, at one time, the two songs which I'd done with Christophe, we were going to use as a separate project, possibly even like a Super Homard project. But then we just felt both songs come out so well that we just thought it needed to have a bigger audience than that.
Yeah.
So hence why they're on the album, you know. But he's great, yeah. I mean, I think we'll definitely work together in the future as well.
Yeah. And was this all remote?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he, you know, same way I sent tracks out to my friends, he just sent me the backing track over the phone, you know. And then almost immediately when I first heard that, I started singing this melody and then even some of the words to it. So that came very quickly for me, and then yeah, I did the vocals, you know, almost like a few days later or something like that. But it, I had the whole idea of the song straight away, pretty much.
Yeah.
I could see it all laid out in front of me.
Yeah, amazing. And then you augment that with the string arrangements. Yeah. Hannah Peel
Strings
coming in
brass,
to
yeah.
join you again.
Yeah.
And does she work remotely as well? So would you have sent her the song with you singing on top?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been, yeah. It would have been the tracks and a couple of references I might have sent her, but nothing too much. And then, yeah, she just does her magic. And we recorded the orchestra and all the strings in number 2 studio in Abbey Road as well, which was amazing. The sound was so good in there. And, yeah, she's always a joy to work with because she's so clever and brilliant what she does.
And when she's doing that, does she mock up what she thinks they will sound like on a keyboard or something, and then send that to you and you think, oh, that sounds good?
Yeah, not necessarily on all of them, but most of them she'll do like a rough little demo thing off a keyboard just to give a flavour, really, you know.
Yeah.
And but it's someone I trust entirely anyway, you know. I know she was going to do the right thing for the song.
Yeah, it's great when you find these people, because you've worked with Hannah now for quite a few years.
Yeah, since like True Meanings or something like that a few years ago,
Amazing. Rise Up Singing is the next song, and here is a different collaboration with somebody you've known for a long time.
Yeah.
With Dr. Robert.
Yeah, since like the mid-'80s probably, the Blow Monkeys. And, well, Robert was doing this project called Monks Road Social Club, and they did like 3 or 4 albums, and it was Robert produced all these records, and he would get different artists, different singers in. Some he would sing himself. So originally Rise Up Singing was something that was going to be used, and in fact was used on the Monks Road Social Club record. But I thought it was such a great song, and it just sort of crept out, and it didn't do anything. I don't even think people were aware of it, you know. And I just felt it was a waste of a really, really good song, you know. And so I said to Robert, "Is it okay if I use it for my record instead?" You know. So we re-recorded quite a lot of it, practically all of it, and we added the strings and the harp and the brass and all the bells and whistles, and I'm glad we did, because I don't think anyone would have heard that song otherwise.
Yeah.
It was, it just sort of come out, it just escaped, and no one really knew about it.
Yeah.
So I was glad just to sort of give it more of a chance, really.
And maybe people can go back and investigate that and see the difference.
I mean, it's pretty much, it's a very similar thing. It's just without all the real instruments and real strings and all that.
Yeah. It's interesting because you do work with quite a few different people. You do quite a few of these different things on the side.
Yeah.
With, you know, Gearbox Records or whatever, you know, little things that you've experimented on, and all part of this ongoing search, possibly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just love playing, man, and that's the bottom line, really. And so if I'm at a loose end, or I'm not working, and someone says, "Can you come and play on this?" or will you come and play live with us, or whatever, I'm always up for it because I love playing. And probably the same for most musicians, I suppose, really. Do you know what I mean?
And you've got Leah, your daughter, singing on this, I think.
She did some backing vocals on it.
Yeah, and she put out her own album, which, were you involved in that?
I wrote one of the songs on it, or we co-wrote a song together on it. And I can't remember what it's called, but a really, really nice song. And I played on that, I played on that track with her.
Is it nice having the family get involved in what you're doing and vice versa?
If it works, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's got to sound good, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We wouldn't do it for the sake of it. But when I loved her record. I mean, it's not even as a biased dad saying this. I just thought it was genuinely a great record and great songs on it, great words. So I was more than happy. If she hadn't been my daughter, I'd still would have gone and played on that.
Yeah.
I'm interested in playing on anything that's good.
Yeah. But it means so much to people, I think. The Gold Borns were, they put out a single recently that you're involved in. And,
Hot Sauce,
Yeah, a great track. It's a lot of fun.
I love it,
But I could tell when they got in touch and say, oh, this is our new track, and Bulweller's involved. And they're just so excited about it.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you kind of pass on, your experience in a way. You're able to help people out in that way.
I mean, it hasn't got to be sort of name people. I mean, if it's good, I'll play on it. If he asks me and I like it, I'll do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As simple as that. It's better to play than not play, man. That's what I think. It's better to work than not work.
Yeah. Actually, I mentioned Dr. Robert as being one of the older collaborators on the record, but Steve Brooks, your
he's even older.
School friend, is on there.
Yeah.
Which is amazing to have, relationships with people that can last that long.
Yeah. Yeah. We've known each other since 1972. What was that? 52 years or whatever.
Amazing.
But Steve's played on my records since 22 Dreams.
Yeah.
However long ago that is, I'm not sure what that is.
He's turned up at a few gigs as well, hasn't he? He's played.
And we've played together live as well a few times. And he's a great guitarist, It isn't just for old sentimental times and all that stuff. He's a genuinely great guitarist. He always was. He was when he was a kid, way above my means. But he's great, and I gave him the bare bones of my track of what I woke up, and he worked out this beautiful part, and I only gave him like a little reference. I was just saying I could hear kind of bark or something like that in it, and then he come back with that amazing part, And we got to play together recently. I think just before Christmas we did a charity show up in Liverpool, and we did about 25 minutes set together. And that was, it's just great. I mean, it's just
the two of you?
Just the two of
us. Both on
yeah.
acoustic guitar?
Yeah. Just as we were when we started out when we were 14 or whatever,
Yeah.
But we can just do it better, that's all. And but that was great, man. It was just fun to do as well.
Yeah.
But he's a great guitarist.
Yeah, that's really lovely. And so does he live nearby? Where does?
Yeah, he lives kind of nearer where my studio is.
Yeah. So he's still in that kind of part of the world.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Yeah. So, and so you can kind of hook up reasonably regularly.
We both share, like, his birthday's a day after mine as well.
Right.
So we've always got that as well together.
Yeah.
But anything he's played on in recent years has always been great, I think. Yeah, always brings something to it.
And I mean, it must be really interesting having somebody like that who was there when the dreams were being born, in a way, when those dreams were first entering your heads and you both thought, wow, wouldn't it be great to play music?
Yeah.
But he obviously, he kind of walked away from that quite early on.
He did. We were a 4-piece at that time, and then Steve left. He didn't like the direction I wanted to take it in. He definitely wouldn't have liked punk rock. We were both Beatleheads when we were kids, and we would just studiously examine all their chords and how they wrote songs and all that stuff, And we were both learning together, We met in a playground, and we had a mutual thing that we both loved music, and it's like, I've got a guitar and I've got one, but that was just, we'd learn a new chord and we'd sort of show each other the new chord and vice versa, and we just started off from that in our bedrooms, and but he left about 75, I think it was. He'd had enough and he wanted to do something on his own, just to play on his own. But so he walked away from the band, and I think he kind of played for a little bit on his own around some of the clubs and pubs. And then I don't know if he went off to America. I didn't see him for an awful long time anyway. And then we kind of reconnected back in the 90s. And but Steve's back out playing loads now. I mean, he just does his own thing and plays in like pubs and clubs like he always has done. But I suppose essentially just because he loves it, he loves playing,
Yeah, because that can be a difficult thing, isn't it? When you're so close and have got so many of the same passions, and then to watch one person run with it and become very successful.
Yeah.
That could undermine that friendship, but to think that it's managed to survive all of that.
Yeah, but I don't think Steve's kind of. I never get the impression that he's sort of bitter about it or
Yeah.
made the wrong decision. I mean, it was just what happened, and I don't think he would have enjoyed where I wanted to take the band anyway. So I think it kind of made sense, But he's still playing music, and we're still playing together every now and again. So
Yeah.
I think we've got a good relationship, really.
Yeah, it's great, and it gives us lovely songs like "I Woke Up."
Yeah.
No, and is it a dream? I mean, I woke up. I mean, are the words.
You could relate to it on many, many levels,
Yeah.
right? And to be honest with you, I haven't got a clue what it's about. I just followed the muse, and as the idea came to me, I just followed the words and see where it went to. So people can read all sorts of things into it or find your own meaning in it, really. But if I'm really honest, I didn't know what it's about.
Yeah.
I woke up and there was nothing there, nothing I recognised, nothing I owned. Make of it as you will.
Yeah, yeah. I like that though, because we can make of it what we want.
Well, that's the beauty of art, I think, isn't it? It's down to interpretation, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, totally. A Glimpse of You is the next song. It's another collaboration with Christophe from Le Super Homard.
Yeah.
And this has a really kind of great laid-back feel to it. So this is the case. He again sent you this piece of music and you responded to it.
Yeah, yeah. Again, it was pretty complete, really, what Christophe sent. And I just did the top line and the lyric and maybe changed a little bit of the arrangement here and there. But otherwise, it was pretty much what he sent. And then we added the strings and brass and orchestra to it. But even with the orchestra and stuff, he'd already sort of demoed that on keyboards, so it was pretty complete, really.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's amazing. But I'm intrigued to know what the original sounds like in comparison to the big sweeping string arrangements and everything, or it's just all suggested really with what he did.
It was very much there, you know what I mean? It was just kind of us just adding the real instruments to it, really. It was very complete what he sent.
Mm. And again, not in the same room, so you're in different parts of the world.
He came over. Christophe came over when we did the strings. He came over for that session. So he came to Abbey Road with us, and that was really nice. And just to kind of oversee it, really, because it was his baby, really. So just to come and make sure he was happy with the strings and the arrangement and all that. But a great fella, you know, and we'll definitely work together again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Good Night, Sleepy Hollow. It has a lullaby feel to it. Is that how you see it?
Yeah. I was just writing a lullaby to my children, which is not the first time I've done that. I've done it on quite a few records, but yeah. I mean, I don't know what else to say apart from that. I mean, I think it was just it's more a feeling, it's more a vibe. The words are kind of abstract, I suppose, but I just, to encompass this feeling of warmth and love and safety, all those things that kids need, kind of represents that to me.
Yeah, and it has such a lovely feel as well with the vibraphone and the flutes on there, and I mean, it seems really...
That was done on the same session where we did Ship of Fools and another track which hasn't been released yet with Jacko and Max Beasley. And just a beautiful session, you know, just all playing live and just wonderful.
Yeah. And 66, the album title, refers specifically to your birthday this weekend.
Yes. Next weekend.
Yeah.
This weekend, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. So how are you feeling about... Do you notice... I mean, is the number significant in any way? Or is it just looks good on the page?
It looks good on the page. I just thought I couldn't think of a title, an album title, so then it came to me, and I thought, I like that, and I imagined exactly as it's turned out. I imagined I was going to ask Peter Blake to do the sleeve if he was up for it, and I kind of had the idea pretty firm in my mind to what I wanted it to look like, and I just thought those two numbers look great together on the sleeve, and 66. Well, it also, I mean, apart from it being my age, it was a great year, 1966. Not just because we won the World Cup, but it was musically a very pivotal year. I think really important year. I thought, and there's lots of exciting music happening. Like Reach Out, I'll Be There. The Four Tops was amazing sound that year, and Painted Black, the Stones, Tomorrow Never Knows. There's lots of groundbreaking records at that time. I think it's when pop really exploded. And the ideas and even the recording techniques seemed to be advancing, incredible advancements. So I kind of like that aspect as well, But looks good.
Yeah, yeah. And so you obviously gave Peter Blake some instructions about what you wanted. So did you suggest colour?
I didn't suggest colour, but I just said I wanted, because I'd seen some of Peter's earlier work where he used some of the numbers like an old sixpence, a six with a D, whatever it used to be. Anyway, so I knew it was like that fairground carnival sort of style, But I knew Pete would understand that, and it's just perfect what he did.
Yeah,
really lucky to get him to do it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you've worked together a few times now.
Yeah, it's like the third sleeve he's done together. Yeah.
So there's a friendship and a relationship with.
Yeah, he's an amazing person, man. He's just. He's 92 this year, I think.
Wow.
But he's still working, and his works. I saw some pencil drawings he'd done, which were just incredible. It was when he was in bed. He was laid up a bit ill a couple of years ago, and he just drew whatever he saw out of his window. But just incredible, and he's still creative.
Yeah.
Still looking forward, still creating new work.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So an inspirational figure, really.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Him and Hockney.
Yeah. I can see a kinship, because to me, you can't stop yourself. They can't stop themselves. No, they just have to carry on
until they pass on, till they go.
Yeah, totally.
And hopefully, I'll be the same.
Yeah,
I'm lucky.
yeah. Well, I mean, it certainly looks that way. In Full Flight is the next song, and new collaborators are involved in this one. Not new as in you haven't worked with them before, but new in terms of the record. I think this is the first track that features Tom Doyle, is it?
Tom Doyle and Amph Brown,
right.
who go under the name of White Label.
Mm.
And they've been doing stuff for quite a few years now. And this is I think, the third song we've done together. And with this, we've done it different ways. I've sent them little rough, very, very rough things off my phone of me playing acoustic at home. And then they sort of chop it up and make it into something. I don't know how they do it, but it's incredible, because, I can't even say it's a demo, because it's just me just sort of la-laing and bashing away on an acoustic. But they find a way of constructing it, reconstructing it, and putting it into a song. And then I add some stuff, and then they'll add stuff, and then we sort of to and fro it again, remotely. And but the track was around for a long time, and I couldn't really find the words for it for ages, so that took a long time. And then I wanted to, on the original demo that Tom and Amph sent to me, there was they'd messed around with some of my vocals, I think, and I added some other vocals, but they were off a keyboard, so they had this funny slurry sort of type thing to them. So I was trying to, which I really liked, and I was trying to think how we could replicate that, but with real voices. And then I heard Say She, I heard some of their stuff, and I thought, they'd be good for that. They had the right kind of vocal sound for that. And it happened that the girls were over, they were doing Glastonbury, I think, around that time last year, and they had a free day, so they just came down, and that was it. A couple of hours with them, and they were just great girls as well, and it worked really well, I think.
Yeah. No, it sounds fantastic. They've got such a great interesting, quite idiosyncratic way of approaching their vocals with the three of them, and the way each of them sings in a different way, but it blends in such a fantastic way.
I went to see him at Coco's fairly recently.
Yeah, I went to that gig.
Was you there?
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
It was good, no?
Oh, it was fantastic. But it really surprised me because they did a version of I Believe in Miracles by the Jackson Sisters, which I didn't know they did.
Yeah.
And that really took me by surprise because I thought I'd never, ever hear that song performed live. And there they were. And it just sounded fantastic.
Yeah. They're great. I love them, yeah. And they're real graft as well. They're always on the road, always doing something.
Yeah. I look forward to what they're going to do in the future as well, because each album has been quite different and exploratory.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about Soul Wandering? Now, this is another collaboration with another different lyricist.
Yeah. Well, again, I had the backing track for a long time, but I couldn't find my way into it, like lyrically. I had the melody as well, but I just couldn't find my way in. And sometimes it's like that. Sometimes you just have to find the right key to get into a song, to unlock it and really see what it is. But anyway, I was just taking for ages and I couldn't think of anything. And so I sent it to Bobby Gillespie. And and I think I think I've said this already, but he sent it back like it's probably the same night, and it worked. It worked really well, and I liked the sentiment of the lyric, and that was it, man. It's really simple, and then same thing. As soon as I had those words, and I thought they worked well, I went and cut the track the next day or 2 days later or whatever, and. I like what Bobby's writing about in it, and whether it's an age thing or I don't know, but it's kind of I'm at the same point as he is in the lyric, really. That kind of searching for something a bit more and searching for some sort of spirituality in life. Anyway, it hasn't got necessarily to be religion. But some connection anyway. But I liked it. I like what he's writing, and some sort of thing. I sort of think, I could have written that, but I didn't.
Yeah.
So I related to it straight off anyway.
Yeah. Because I would say you've explored similar themes in your own work in the past, and even from the very first records you released, the searching thing was always there.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think. I might have felt that I could have written those words, but I know that I would have been too critical to do that. So I think having Bobby write them made me. I found it easier to sing them. I don't know if I already said this, so stop me if I have. But I'm just less critical. I was less critical with someone else's words. If I related to them, and then that was enough. I didn't have to be going deeply into examining, is that the right thing?
Yeah.
They fitted, and that was right.
Yeah. No, I've had that conversation with a few different kinds of people. So say you might have a band with a singer who sings somebody else's words in the band, and they find that inspiring and creative in a different kind of way because they try and work out how shall I express this, but they're not burdened with the self-consciousness of wondering about how you feel about putting those words out into the world.
Exactly that. Yeah, absolutely.
So you're kind of free to think about expression.
Yeah, I'm just not as critical about it. That's simple as that, really. And I'm just looking to think, as a vocalist, how can I sing this, and how do I put it together? And that's pretty liberating in itself, I think, really.
And I know that you feel strongly about your vocals these days. You're happier with how you're singing.
Yeah, you can always get better. There's always room for improvement. But I'm definitely, I definitely feel that it's improving. Or it's improved over the last few years. Why that is, I've no idea. But I'm very happy it has. And I'm just able to sing and play often what's in my head. Where when I was younger, that used to be very frustrating because I could hear these other places I think I could have gone with something, but I couldn't really physically do it. And now I find I can most of the time anyway, But I'm always looking to improve all of it. I mean, you know, it's a never-ending process, man. It's Danny Thompson, the famous bass player. He was saying to me that, like all musicians, you're always searching for this perfection, which in fact doesn't actually exist. You know, it's just this thing that just keeps drawing you forward. But what that perfection is, you'll never know. You'll go to your grave and still never know it, you know?
Yeah.
But it's the thing that drives a lot of us on.
Yeah. Yeah. Still pushing forwards.
Yeah.
Trying to grasp it. And yet, you know.
Well, just look at trying to grasp greatness, you know,
Yeah.
trying to make something great, you know, and that's anyone's guess how you do that. It just happens or not.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Interesting idea when we think about the next track, which is called Burnout, and closes the record. It doesn't look to me as if you're going to burn out anytime soon, Paul.
Well, I hope not, but who knows? But
Yeah.
I would hope not. With Burnout, you know, it's funny because that was one of the very first tunes I started. So it goes way back to like probably 2021. And that's been around for a long time. And I didn't even think about it as an album track at one time. I don't know, I kind of forgot about it. But I love the words that Earl and Cooper did the lyrics for it. I added a few lyrics to it, but mainly it's all Earl and stuff. And there's quite a few references to the sort of COVID year or years in it as well. So that shows it was written around that time, you know. But I thought it was great what Erlen wrote. I mean, I think he's a great artist anyway. But there's a few different references. You know, at that time when the whatever Tory minister said that maybe people in the arts should think about retraining, you know, which was just hilarious, really. You know, something I've been doing all my life. What would I retrain as? Do you know what I mean? I'm in my 60s. I'm not going to retrain as a vet or something. You know what I mean? But so there's some references like that in there. So I guess it sort of dates it, but the same stuff's going on still anyway. I think, you know, in one shape or form. But I thought Erlen really caught it well. I thought, and very clever.
Yeah,
clever man.
Yeah, totally. And then it found its home. So it suddenly it seemed to work really well.
Well, yeah, and also we were sort of, it's like, what is the closer? What's the last song on the album, you know? And like I said, we almost sort of forgot about Burnout. And luckily, our engineer, Charles Reese, works at the barn, who you've met as well, he was saying, I love Burnout, you know, you've got to put that on the album. And I've forgotten about it. I didn't think much of it in a way. I didn't really think about it at all. And then I was like, okay, well, if he's really keen, so I started to listen to it again, and I thought, oh yeah, I could see how that could work, you know, that could be the closing tune on it. It's a bit sort of pessimistic as a closer, but it is what it is, and but I think it works really well. It rounds it off really well, I think.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And it's interesting that you have people like Charles around you. You know, because in a way, you know, all those sessions, even when it's just you pretty much doing everything, Charles is going to be there, putting up the faders and making sure that it's being recorded.
Yeah.
And then to be a sounding board as well, you know, to have somebody that you can really trust.
Yeah, because, you know, like most engineers, if you can really get them involved, they do incredible things, I think. I've seen it happen many times. It's just getting them hooked in and getting them involved when they feel part of it, which Charles is really good at doing, you know. He's I've seen him work with other people as well, and if he's really into something, he'll just work his ass off to get it right, you know. He's great like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's the setup that you have, you know, having your own studio to record in. You've had your own studio before, obviously. Black Barn, though, you've had for, I don't know, how long have you had Black Barn? 20 years? Or, yeah.
Easy, yeah.
But that frees you up to do whatever you want to do.
Certainly does, yeah. I mean, you're not watching the clock, you know. I mean, studios, especially in London, are expensive, and so it's always that pressure on us. I don't know, we've only got a few more hours or whatever, you know. So it frees you of that kind of burden. But at the same time, so we have all the time we want, and yet we still work really quickly within that time, you know.
Mm.
I don't think we ever really hang about and do nothing too much anyway. It's always something on the go, you know. So we tend to work very intensely for a few days or a week or whatever it may be. And then I'll come away and have a break from it and just take the music away and listen to it in different situations. And then come back to it, you know. And which I guess you can only really do if you've got that freedom of having your own place, you know what I mean? Otherwise you've got to make sure you can we book the studio in 2 weeks' time? And that's why most people will make or get a block of, you know, a month or 2 months to make an album, where I can spread it out and have time to listen to it and come away from it and then come back to it.
Yeah.
It's a real luxury.
Yeah. It's really interesting, because I wonder how much that links into how prolific you have been over the last, well, non-stop pretty much, but particularly the last 10 years. There have been so many records. Yeah, possibly, yeah. And it's just such a great working space as well, you know. It's very conducive to being creative, and but I think that thing of not have to worry about time and all that, I think that's really important. I think that's really a positive, creative thing. Yeah. Paul, it's been a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much. I should say happy birthday.
Thank you.
Congratulations on making 66.
Thank you.
As it were. And you'll be touring this year, and maybe, if I know you, you'll be recording, making music in some way.
Yeah, hopefully.
You can't stop yourself.
Yeah.
Radio X.